Okay, let's unpack this. Think about it. Roughly a third of our lives is spent doing one thing, sleeping.
A third? That's huge.
Right. For an average U.S. citizen, that's about 25 years. 25 years just asleep.
It's an incredible amount of time when you put it like that.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Some animals, like, certain fish and amphibians, apparently never sleep.
Yeah, and dolphins.
Mm.
They have this way of sleeping with half their brain at a time, essentially. They can go long stretches without what we'd call sleep.
But then you have other animals, like rats in some studies, where total sleep deprivation, well, it can be fatal in just a couple of weeks.
That contrast is exactly why this is such a puzzle. So much variation.
Exactly. So the big questions are just buzzing. Why do we sleep? Is it absolutely essential? That's what we're getting into today.
And it's fascinating because this state, sleep, it looks so passive from the outside, right?
Yeah.
But it takes up this massive chunk of our lives, and its purpose seems, well, it varies so much across species.
Absolutely.
The sources we're looking at today, they give us a really good snapshot of the current science. We're talking defining sleep, how it's regulated, the different stages, why we might need it, dreaming, which is always wild, and what happens when sleep goes wrong, sleep disorders.
Yeah, we've got some great material, excerpts from Leteti Texti. So our mission is basically to understand why we dedicate, a quarter to a third of our existence to this.
Let's dive in. Where should we start?
Let's start with the basics. Scientifically speaking, what actually is sleep? It's not just stopping.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's definitely more than just lying still. The definition involves, yes, low physical activity and reduced awareness of what's around you.
Okay.
But crucially, it's driven by this interplay between our internal body clock, the circadian rhythm, and what scientists call homeostatic mechanisms.
Homeostatic. Okay, break that down a bit. What does that mean for sleep?
Think of homeostasis like your body trying to keep everything in balance, like a thermostat. For sleep, it means there's a drive that builds up the longer you're awake.
Ah, like sleep pressure.
Exactly. And this pressure leads to sleep rebound. If you miss sleep, your body pushes you harder to sleep longer or deeper next time. It's trying to catch up, restore that balance.
That makes total sense. That feeling after pulling an all-nighter, that's definitely my body demanding payback. So how do scientists actually see what the brain is doing during sleep?
Right. We can't just look at someone sleeping. We use electroencephalography, EEG. Basically, sensors on the scalp pick up the brain's electrical activity.
Those squiggly lines you see in medical shows.
Precisely. And those patterns change dramatically during sleep. The text mentions a figure, 4.6, showing a polysomnograph that's a recording of multiple things during sleep. You can see different brainwave patterns clearly distinguishing different stages over even just 30 seconds.
Wow. So those waves tell the story, and it's not just one part of the brain running the show, I assume. Which areas are the key players?
It's definitely networked. The sources highlight a few critical areas. There's the thalamus, sort of a relay station for sensory info. Then the hypothalamus, which is like a control center. It contains the SCN, the suprachiasmatic nucleus. That's our master biological clock, synced to light and dark.
The body's own clockmaker.
Pretty much. And other parts of the hypothalamus help regulate deep sleep. Then there's the Pons in the brainstem, which is really important for REM sleep, the dreaming stage.
It really is like an orchestra, all these parts working together. And hormones are involved too, right? It's not just electrical signals.
Absolutely. Hormones are huge. Melatonin from the pineal gland is probably the most famous one, helping regulate the sleep-wake cycle. You can see that in figure 4.7.
Right, people take melatonin supplements.
Exactly. But there are others. The pituitary gland releases hormones like FSH and LH, important for the reproductive system, and also growth hormone.
Growth hormone. So that old saying about needing sleep to grow is actually true.
Well, yes, growth hormone release peaks during deep sleep, especially in children and adolescents, but it's important throughout life for repair and metabolism too. So yeah, sleep is deeply tied to our hormonal balance.
Okay, so sleep is this super complex state regulated by brain networks, driven by internal clocks and pressure involving hormones. But why? Why did this evolve? What's the point?
Ah, the million-dollar question. And honestly, there's no single easy answer that everyone agrees on. But we have some strong theories. One major idea is about adaptive function from an evolutionary perspective.
Adaptive function, like it helps us survive. How?
Well, one angle is resource conservation. The idea is, we spend energy when we're awake, moving around, thinking. Sleep might be a way to power down, conserve calories, and let the body repair itself from the day's activities.
That sounds pretty logical. Rest and recharge.
Yeah, it does seem intuitive. But the research backing specifically energy conservation as the main driver is, well, it's not as strong as you might think. Some argue just resting quietly could achieve similar energy savings.
Hmm.
And some studies, like Capellini's, even found that animals with higher energy need sometimes sleep less, which kind of goes against that simple recharge idea.
Okay, so maybe not just about saving energy. What other evolutionary angle is there?
The other big one is safety. Predator avoidance. The argument goes, nighttime is dangerous, especially for animals like us that rely on vision.
Right. Harder to spot danger in the dark.
Exactly. So maybe sleep evolved as a way to keep us inactive and hidden away in a safe spot during those vulnerable dark hours, lying low, essentially.
That also makes a lot of sense. Find a safe cave, bunker down.
It does. But again, the research across different species is complicated. Some studies suggest animals at higher risk actually sleep less, maybe needing to stay more vigilant.
So more danger equals less sleep sometimes. That's counterintuitive.
It is, and other research found no clear link between how much deep sleep an animal gets and its specific predation risk. So these evolutionary theories, while appealing, they don't seem to be the whole story, or maybe they apply differently to different species.
It sounds like the why is still pretty murky.
It is, in terms of a single universal function. It's likely sleep serves different purposes or a blend of purposes depending on the animal and its environment.
But we do know that getting enough sleep has clear benefits for us, right? Even if the original evolutionary why is debated.
Oh, absolutely. The benefits are well documented. Things like maintaining a healthy weight, managing stress better, improved mood, better motor skills,
Uh-huh.
and crucially, huge benefits for our cognition, thinking, learning, memory.
Okay, let's get into that cognitive function piece. This feels really important for, everyday life. We've all felt that brain fog after a bad night.
Definitely. The link between sleep and cognitive function, especially memory, is incredibly strong. Sleep deprivation hits our attention span, our ability to make good decisions, and our memory recall pretty hard.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
And the more sleep you lose, the worse those effects get. It's progressive.
Which explains why pulling an all-nighter before an exam is usually a terrible strategy.
Exactly. You might cram the information in, but your ability to actually access and use it tanks. Research shows that slow-wave sleep, that deep NREM sleep after learning something new, is critical for improving performance and actually locking in those memories.
Slow wave sleep. So it's not just the amount of sleep, but the type of sleep that matters for learning.
Precisely. That deep restorative sleep seems essential for memory consolidation. Skipping it to study more is likely shooting yourself in the foot long term.
Ouch. Good to know. Are there other cognitive perks besides memory?
Yes, quite a few emerging areas. Some studies suggest sleep enhances creative thinking, maybe by helping the brain form new connections.
Interesting.
Others link it to better language learning, solidifying grammar and vocabulary, and even making better sort of intuitive judgments.
Like figuring things out.
Yeah, making connections you might not make when you're awake and focused. There's also work suggesting sleep helps process emotional information, maybe making us more emotionally resilient.
Wow. So our brains are really busy while we're sleeping, sorting things out, making connections, maybe even getting creative. It's not just passive downtime.
Not at all. It seems to be a period of intense internal activity, just focused differently than when we're awake.
Okay, we've mentioned stages, slow wave sleep, REM. Let's break down these stages, what defines them.
Right. Sleep isn't monolithic. We cycle through different stages, and these are primarily defined by brainwave activity, which we see on that EEG.
The squiggly lines again?
Yep. They change in frequency, how fast the waves are, and amplitude, how tall they are. We generally group sleep into two main types: REM, rapid eye movement sleep, and NREM, non-rapid eye movement sleep.
And NREM has substages.
Exactly. NREM is typically divided into stages 1, 2, and 3. Stage 3 used to be split into 3 and 4, but now they're usually combined as deep sleep or slow wave sleep.
Okay, let's start with REM. What's happening there?
REM is fascinating. You got those rapid eye movements, hence the name. But the really striking thing is the brain activity, it looks remarkably similar to when you're awake and alert.
Awake, but you're asleep.
Exactly. That's why it's often called paradoxical sleep. High brain activity, but your body's voluntary muscles are essentially paralyzed, except for, breathing muscles and eye muscles.
Generalized. Why?
The leading theory is it prevents us from acting out our dreams. Since REM is when the most vivid narrative dreaming occurs, this paralysis keeps you safe in bed.
Makes sense. So REM is the dream stage. What else is it doing? Learning, memory.
There's definitely evidence linking REM sleep to learning and memory, particularly for procedural skills, like learning a new motor task and maybe emotional memory processing. But honestly, the exact role is still debated among scientists.
And there's this REM rebound thing.
Yes, if you're specifically deprived of REM sleep, the next time you sleep, your body tends to spend more time in REM trying to make it up. This suggests it's a regulated, necessary state.
But I thought I read somewhere that losing REM sleep isn't as bad as losing sleep overall.
That's one of those counterintuitive findings. While total sleep loss has clear negative effects, selectively depriving someone of just REM sleep seems to have less severe cognitive consequences, at least in some studies.
Oh, really?
Even weirder, some research suggests that REM sleep deprivation might actually help treat major depression. Many effective antidepressants, incidentally, suppress REM sleep.
Wow, okay. So reducing that active brain state might help somehow.
It's a complex picture. Other research challenges this, and some newer ideas suggest maybe any sleep disruption or even general sleep loss might shift how we process emotions, perhaps toward the positive in some cases. It's still an active area of investigation.
So much we're still figuring out. Okay, let's move to NREM sleep. Stage 1, what's that like?
Stage 1 NREM is that very first light phase, drifting off. Your breathing and heart rate slow down a little, muscles relax, body temp drops slightly.
Kind of half awake, half asleep.
Exactly. On the EEG, you see brain waves slowing down from the alpha waves of relaxed wakefulness to theta waves.
Yeah.
You're easily woken up and might not even realize you'd fallen asleep if someone nudges you.
Okay. Then stage 2, deeper.
Yep, entering true sleep now. Stage 2 is deeper relaxation. Theta waves still dominate, but you get these unique features, sleep spindles and K-complexes.
Spindles and K-complexes, what are they?
Sleep spindles are these short, rapid bursts of higher frequency waves. Research suggests they might be involved in memory consolidation, maybe helping screen out external stimuli.
Okay, and K-complexes.
K-complexes are these big, high-amplitude spikes. They might be triggered by noises, possibly helping you stay asleep through minor disturbances, or maybe playing a role in memory processing, too. They're like brief moments of higher arousal within sleep.
So even in stage 2, the brain is reacting, processing. What about stages 3 and 4, or just stage 3 now, the deep sleep?
Right, slow wave sleep. This is the deepest stage. The EEG is dominated by low-frequency, high-amplitude delta waves. Very slow, very synchronized brain activity.
And this is the really restorative stuff.
That's the thinking, yeah. Heart rate and respiration are at their lowest. It's very hard to wake someone from this stage, and if you do, they'll feel groggy and disoriented. This stage seems crucial for physical restoration and some types of memory consolidation.
And if you don't get enough of this deep sleep,
Yeah,
you feel rubbish.
pretty much. Some studies even show that if you have too much awake-like alpha wave activity mixed into your delta sleep, you feel unrefreshed, even if you slept a long time. Quality matters.
Quality over quantity sometimes. How do we cycle through these stages? Is it just 1, 2, 3, REM, repeat?
It's roughly like that, but not quite so neat. We typically go down through NREM 1, 2, 3, then back up through 2, and then into our first REM episode. This whole cycle takes about 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
Give or take. And the pattern changes through the night. Early on, you get more deep, slow-wave sleep. Later in the night, especially towards morning, the REM periods get longer and the deep sleep gets shorter.
So you get different types of sleep at different times of night, like the brain prioritizes different things.
That seems to be the case, yeah. A hypnogram, like the one in Figure 4.13, shows this pattern visually, the descent into deep sleep early on and the longer REM cycles later. It's a dynamic process.
Like a nightly dance through different states. Okay, let's talk about dreams. They mostly happen in REM, you said. What are the big ideas about what dreams mean or do?
Dreams have fascinated people forever, obviously. Lots of cultural interpretations. Scientifically, Freud had a huge impact, proposing dreams are a window to the unconscious.
Right, manifest and latent content.
Exactly. Manifest is the story you remember. Latent is the hidden symbolic meaning. Like dreaming of a snake might symbolize, for Freud, a phallic symbol or fear of intimacy.
Classic Freud. And Jung. He had a different take.
Jung, yeah. He talked about the collective unconscious shared human archetypes and symbols. He thought dreams tapped into these universal themes, not just personal repressed desires.
More universal, less personal. What about more modern views?
Rosalind Cartwright suggested dreams reflect our waking life concerns. Her research, like the study on divorced women dreaming about their ex-spouses, supports this idea. Dreams seem to process important life events and emotions.
That feels more grounded, maybe?
It's certainly more empirically tested. And now, neuroscience is getting involved, like that incredible study using fMRI to basically decode visual dream content.
Seeing dreams with brain scans. Mind-blowing.
It really opens up new ways to study dreaming objectively. Then there's Hobson's idea of proto-consciousness.
Proto-consciousness.
Yeah, his theory is that dreaming is like the brain constructing a virtual reality. It's maybe a way to model the world, practice scenarios, or consolidate information in a different way, preparing us for wakefulness.
Like a nightly simulation?
Kind of.
Eh.
He points to lucid dreams, where you know you're dreaming, and can sometimes control it as evidence that the brain can consciously manipulate this dream state.
Fascinating stuff. So dreams could be symbolic, reflective, or even a kind of neural training ground. Maybe all of the above.
It's likely multifaceted. But unfortunately, sleep isn't always smooth sailing. Sleep disorders are incredibly common, right?
Yeah, the stats are pretty stark. Something like 30 to 50% of people experience one at some point. That's huge.
It really is. A significant public health issue.
Let's start with the most common one, probably. Insomnia. What defines it clinically?
Insomnia isn't just a bad night's sleep here and there. It's persistent difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking up too early, leading to feeling unrested.
So it's chronic.
Right.
Right.
Typically, it has to happen at least 3 nights a week for a month or more. And often there's this anxiety loop. Worrying about not sleeping makes it harder to sleep.
Vicious cycle. What causes it?
Lots of things. Age, stress, underlying medical or mental health issues, medications, habits like caffeine late in the day, irregular schedules.
And treatment. Is it just sleeping pills?
Pills can help short term, but there are risks of dependence, and they can mess with sleep stages. Lifestyle changes are key: exercise, good sleep hygiene. And cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI, is actually considered the gold standard.
CBTI. How does that work?
It helps change the thoughts and behaviors around sleep, addressing the anxiety, relaxation techniques, stimulus control like only using the bed for sleep. It's very effective.
Tackling the root causes. Okay, what about parasomnias? That's a whole category, right? Weird stuff happening during sleep.
Yeah, parasomnias are unwanted behaviors or experiences during sleep. Sleepwalking is a classic example.
Sleepwalking or somnambulism. People actually get up and walk around.
They can do all sorts of complex things: walk, talk, even try to drive, though that's rare. Usually happens during deep, slow-wave sleep. They look awake, but aren't responsive, and don't remember it later.
Is it dangerous? I mean, the text mentions that Scott Filater case.
That was an extreme, tragic case
Yeah.
where sleepwalking was raised as a defense in a murder trial. While incredibly rare, complex, and even violent behaviors can occur during sleepwalking, highlighting potential dangers, treating underlying issues like sleep apnea can sometimes help reduce episodes.
Scary stuff. What else falls under parasomnias?
REM sleep behavior disorder, RBD. This is different from sleepwalking. Here, the muscle paralysis that normally happens in REM fails.
So people act out their dreams.
Exactly. Kicking, punching, yelling. It can be violent and lead to injuries. Interestingly, RBD is often linked to later development of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's.
Wow, an early warning sign, potentially. How's it treated?
Medications like clonazepam can help suppress the behaviors, and making the sleep environment safer is crucial. Padding around the bed, removing hazards.
Okay. Then there's restless leg syndrome, RLS. That sounds uncomfortable.
It is an irresistible urge to move the legs, usually due to unpleasant crawling or aching sensations, especially when resting or trying to sleep. Moving brings relief, but it makes falling asleep very difficult.
What helps with RLS?
It's sometimes linked to things like iron deficiency or kidney problems, so treating underlying causes is important. Medications like dopamine agonists or anticonvulsants can also manage symptoms.
And night terrors. Different from nightmares.
Very different. Night terrors involve sudden panic, screaming, thrashing, usually the first third of the night during deep NREM sleep. The person seems terrified, but is inconsolable and won't remember it. Nightmares happen in REM and are often recalled.
Mostly in kids, right? Do they need treatment?
Usually not, especially in children, unless they're very frequent or distressing, or if there's an underlying issue.
Okay, moving beyond parasomnias. Sleep apnea seems really common and serious.
Extremely common and serious. It's when breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep. These pauses can last 10-20 seconds or more, hundreds of times a night.
And the person might not even know.
Often they don't realize, but their partner hears loud snoring, gasping, or choking sounds. It leads to terrible daytime sleepiness and significantly increases the risk of high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke.
Who gets it? Is it just overweight people?
Being overweight is a major risk factor, but thin people can get it too. It's about the airway collapsing that's obstructive apnea, the most common type. There's also central apnea, where the brain doesn't send the right signals to breathe.
How is it treated? the masks?
Yes, the CPAP machine continuous positive airway pressure is the main treatment. It uses air pressure through a mask to keep the airway open. Newer EPAP devices exist too. Compliance can be tough, but it's life-changing and potentially life-saving.
Definitely sounds like it. Now, tragically, there's SIDs, sudden infant death syndrome.
Yes, the unexplained death of an infant during sleep. Devastating. Risk factors include premature birth, smoking in the home, overheating, maybe brain development issues.
But there are things parents can do. The Safe to Sleep campaign.
Absolutely crucial. Placing babies on their backs to sleep, using a firm sleep surface with no soft bedding or bumpers, avoiding overheating, no smoking around the baby. These steps have dramatically reduced SI-DIFs rates.
Incredibly important information. Lastly, narcolepsy. What is that exactly? It's not just being tired, right?
No, it's a neurological disorder causing excessive daytime sleepiness and sudden sleep attacks, an irresistible urge to sleep, anytime, anywhere.
Sleep attacks, like just falling asleep instantly.
Pretty much. Often triggered by monotony, but can happen mid-conversation, even while eating. Many also experience cataplexy,
Cataplexy.
a sudden loss of muscle tone, often triggered by strong emotion like laughter or surprise. It can range from slight weakness to full collapse while the person remains conscious. It's like the muscle paralysis of REM intruding into wakefulness.
Wow. That sounds incredibly disruptive and dangerous.
It is. People with narcolepsy might also have vivid hallucinations when falling asleep or waking up, and sleep paralysis. It's often linked to a deficiency in a brain chemical called hypocretin, or orexin.
How is it treated?
Stimulant medications are used to manage the daytime sleepiness. Sometimes antidepressants help with cataplexy, but there's no cure, and it requires careful management, often involving scheduled naps and lifestyle adjustments.
What a range of challenges people face with sleep. It really underscores how vital this seemingly simple process is.
Absolutely. We've covered so much: the basic definition, the theories why we sleep, those intricate stages, the mystery of dreams, and all these ways it can go wrong.
It's clear sleep isn't just downtime. It's an active, essential biological state. Our physical health, our mental clarity, our emotional balance, they all depend heavily on getting enough good quality sleep.
And science is constantly evolving. We're still unlocking secrets about why sleep is so fundamental and how all these different states and disorders work at a deeper level.
So, as you, our listener, reflect on all this, maybe take a moment. Think about your own sleep, given this deep connection between sleep and how you think, feel, and function.
Yeah, what parts of your waking life might be feeling the effects of your sleep habits, good or bad?
Exactly, your focus, your mood, maybe even your creativity. And knowing what we know now, what's one small change, maybe based on something we discussed today, that you could try? Something realistic that might make a real difference to your sleep and ultimately to how you navigate your day. Definitely something worth sleeping on.